They all burst out laughing when they heard what he left me. $10. Just 10. The sound bounced off the dark wooden walls, not joyful, mocking, sharp, like flies buzzing around a corpse. My mother smirked, silk scarf covering the satisfaction she couldn't hide. My brother leaned back in his chair like a prince inheriting a throne. Even the cousins, barely family, cracked smug smiles like they'd scored a victory. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I simply watched Mr. Carroll, the lawyer, as he cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. "There's a personal letter addressed only to Dana," he said. And then came the silence. The thick, heavy kind that wraps around you. The kind that makes walls lean in to hear secrets. My father always said I was too soft, too emotional, too invisible. But he used to say it like it was endearing, like it meant I belonged to him. I followed him everywhere as a child, brought him his tea, learned the names of his clients, memorized every detail of his schedule. I became an expert in his moods, learned to walk on eggshells, smiled through the frost. When I told him I wanted to write, he said, "Don't waste ink unless it's worth reading." I wrote anyway. He never read a word. The betrayal wasn't sudden. It arrived gradually like dusk. First, I stopped getting CC'd on the family emails. Then I saw pictures of family dinners and trips that I was never invited to. Still, I showed up. I sent cards. I remembered birthdays. I kept pretending I mattered. When he fell ill, I returned. Left my job. Cared for the man who had never once told me he appreciated me. I fed him, bathed him, watched him wither away. The others? They argued from a distance about money. I was the one who stayed. He never thanked me. Not once. 2 days before he passed, I found the updated will. Just sitting there on his computer. No password. Like he wanted me to see it. I read every word. The house went to my mother. The investments to my brother. And me? $10. Just that. Not a single reason why. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there and made a plan. The next morning, I met with Mr. Carroll alone. I told him there were a few things I believed my father might have wanted to say, if he'd had more time. Carroll had known me since I was a child, played chess with me, watched me shrink into the background all my life. But that day, he looked at me differently. I handed him a sealed envelope and told him to read it only after the will, and only to me. So there we were. A room full of people dressed in grief but wearing ambition. Waiting. Mr. Carroll reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope with my name written in my own handwriting. I opened it slowly and began to read aloud. To my daughter Dana, the only one who saw me as I truly was and stayed anyway. The room tensed. My mother shifted uncomfortably. My brother sat up. I read on. You held my hand when I couldn't speak. You gave me dignity when others gave me paperwork. This is not an apology. You know I don't do those. This is recognition. My voice stayed level. Cold. They will inherit my money. You inherit my truth. I stopped there. Let the silence settle like dust after a collapse. Then handed the remaining pages to Carroll. You finish it, I said. He read the rest. A second trust. Hidden. Legal. Unchangeable. Created 2 months before my father's death. Worth over $3 million. Left solely to me. His signature sealed it. I didn't look at anyone, but I felt the room break. My brother's face turned pale. My mother's mouth hung open. This must be a mistake, she whispered. Carroll shook his head gently. He left a video message too, he said, dated and time-stamped. I didn't need to watch it. I already knew what it said, because I wrote it. Did I lie? No. I reminded him of what he'd chosen to ignore. The time my brother stole from the family's finances and got away with it. The bruises my mother pretended weren't there. The years I spent fixing their messes, only to be treated like a ghost. He read every word. And he signed. They looked at me like I'd betrayed them. But I hadn't. I just turned their own knife around. Quietly. Cleanly. I left that room without a sound. Didn't smirk. Didn't wait for reactions. Let them stew in the ruins of their assumptions. Let them wonder when the plan began. Truth is, it started long before they realized I existed. I live by the ocean now. Peaceful. Quiet. No one knows where. I don't answer their calls. Don't read their texts. I've discovered something better than revenge: silence. But silence after revenge? That's not just peace. That's justice. And it's mine.